The year was 1944. As World War II raged on, two important men came into being who would eventually go on to spawn an unprecedented legacy of very, very important people that continues on today. This is their story. June 6, 1944. As the Allies took control of the beach at Normandy, France, back in the States, two young military men and their wives were expecting their first sons. In Massachusetts, William S. Riley, a 1944 graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, was awaiting the birth of his first child with his wife, Mildred, whom he had married the year before. On August 4th, 1944, William James Riley was born in Chelsea, Massachusetts, to William and Mildred Riley. Meanwhile, in New York, Robert and Mildred Nelson were also awaiting the birth of their first son. Robert Nelson was a soldier in the U.S. Army, and he joined his wife Mildred in Queens, New York on September 24th, 1944 for the birth of Peter Robert Nelson. A year later, World War II would be over, and the young families would begin their lives. Back in New York, Peter grew up with his parents. And Robert and Mildred Nelson had two more boys, Richard and Roy. Meanwhile, as Billy grew up, William and Mildred eventually had 5 more children in addition to Billy, twin girls Lynn and Lee, Mark, Laura, and Anna. And later came 9 step-siblings and a half-sister, Becky. Pete and Billy somehow managed to make their way through childhood, growing up during the 1950s, and graduating high school and heading off to college in the 1960s. Eventually, Pete and Billy joined the military to serve their country just like their fathers before them, or perhaps because nowhere else would take them. Billy enrolled at the prestigious Air Force Academy and worked toward becoming a pilot. And Pete joined the Army. Billy worked at perfecting his physical strength and pilot skills. His bodacious bod quickly became legend, while Pete did other things. In June 1966, Billy graduated from the Air Force Academy and married his wife Barbara the same month, and then he entered into pilot training. Sources say that Billy's impressive bod enticed the beautiful Barbara Britton, and a couple of years later they began their family with their firstborn son Eric, later followed by Sean, and then Mark. Billy proved to be a great dad, except when he wasn't. Meanwhile, Pete eventually met Lynn Riley, Billy's younger sister, and they quickly fell in love and married in 1970, with Billy leading his little sister Lynn down the aisle. And the stage was set for the great dynasty of Riley and Nelson progeny. In 1973, Pete and Lynn's son Blake was born, followed by the beautiful Brooke in 1975. And as Pete's family grew, his hair and mustache continued to get bigger, and bigger, and bigger. Billy and Barb raised their 3 boys, often dressing them in very flattering matching outfits and trendy Halloween costumes, And the two families grew up together, for better or for worse. And the Rileys and the Nelsons couldn't be more proud of their exceptional progeny. And as the kids grew, they got smarter and better looking every year, just like their fathers. Meanwhile, over the years, the families remained close. And the 70s and 80s went by, and everyone kept up with the latest in fitness and fashion. Billy was the big brother of a family of 6 kids and always did his best to keep them close over the years. Throughout the years, the siblings often came together. The Riley 6 became the envy of everyone they met, thanks in the most part to the dramatic and impassioned leadership of Billy. Over the years, Billy and Pete maintained their impressiveness, except for the rare and all too often lapses in judgment. And questionable fashion judgments. Truly, Billy Riley and Pete Nilsson had accomplished many wonderful and amazing things. But the best accomplishments in their lives still lay ahead. Grandchildren! To continue on the impressive line of Nelsons and Rileys was quite an achievement for mankind. Somehow, Eric, Sean, and Blake found women willing to marry them. First, Eric married Liz. Then, Sean married Jen. And Blake married Adele. And their unions produced 6 of the most adorable human beings in the history of the world. The genetic legacy of these 2 great men are destined to carry on in Abby, Aiden, Kevin Riley, and Riley, Molly, and Cole Nelson, the next greatest generation.
If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh. And know they love you.
This new generation will only benefit from the awesome heritage that has been passed down by these impressive men, servants of their country, scholars, brothers, husbands, fathers, grandfathers, but not to mention, they are very, very good looking.
Must have been cold
No animals, children, grandchildren, or sex dolls were harmed in the making. Okay. No animals, children, grandchildren, or sex dolls were harmed in the making of this film. The aforementioned statement cannot be confirmed to be true.